Jennifer's eyes snapped open to the bright glow of the Infiniverse. Her breathing was ragged and her heart pounded in her chest. She tried to calm herself, but panic bubbled beneath the surface. Something was wrong. The familiar pull that usually allowed her to transfer back to reality was gone. No matter how hard she focused, she was stuck.
Why isn't it working?
She muttered, scanning her surroundings. She stood on the edge of an endless city, its towering buildings glowing with neon colors and floating platforms bustling with alien life. The Infiniverse usually felt like an adventure, but now it felt suffocating. Alone. She pulled up her wrist communicator and sent a quick message to Click and Dan, hoping they'd see it and come find her. But deep down, she had no idea where they were. Click had vanished hours ago, and Dan was back in reality the last time she knew, leaving to fend for herself. As she wandered through the city, her nerves began to settle. The atmosphere was oddly soothing, despite her circumstances. She passed by strange merchants selling wares she couldn't comprehend, people with extra limbs and floating vehicles zooming above her head. It was bizarre, yet beautiful.
"You look lost," a voice called out.
Jennifer spun around to see a girl her age with glowing violet hair and luminous eyes. Her expression was friendly, and Jennifer felt a small sense of relief.
"I'm Nida."
The girl introduced herself with a smile.
Jennifer. I can't transfer back to reality. I think I'm stuck.
Naida's eyes widened in concern.
"That's been happening more lately. It's not safe to be stuck here for long. You should stick with us until we figure something out."
Jennifer glanced behind Nida to see a small group approaching. There was Reen, a tall, green-skinned boy with pointed ears, Lyra, a quiet girl with furred, cat-like ears and sharp eyes, and twins with glowing blue tattoos spiraling down their arms, Avon and Eris. They all seemed her age, maybe slightly older.
"Don't worry. We've been through this before. The despotics don't come into this part of the city often, and we know how to stay out of trouble."
Jennifer nodded, grateful for the company.
Thanks. I'd rather not be alone.
The group spent the next hour showing her the sights. They wandered through the market, laughing and trading stories. Reen had a knack for jokes, constantly making Nida and the twins laugh. Lyra was more reserved, but shared sly smiles with Jennifer when the boys acted ridiculously. As they strolled past a massive fountain that seemed to pulse with energy, Nida glanced at Jennifer, her expression softening.
"It's hard at first being stuck here, but you get used to it. We've had to figure things out on our own, too."
Jennifer smiled, feeling an unexpected warmth toward her new friends.
It's not so bad with people like you around.
They kept walking, talking about their past adventures in the Infiniverse and the strange creatures they'd encountered. For a moment, Jennifer almost forgot her anxiety. But just as she began to feel comfortable, the atmosphere shifted. A chilling breeze swept through the streets, and the once bright sky dimmed. Nida's face drained of color.
"We need to go now."
Jennifer's heart sank.
What is it?
"The despotics. They're here."
Nida whispered, her voice trembling. Panic set in as the group turned and sprinted down a narrow alleyway, ducking between stalls and jumping over obstacles. The despotics were a brutal, merciless force soldiers, clad in black armor with glowing red eyes that hunted anyone who defied their control of the Infiniverse. Jennifer's heart pounded in her chest as she ran, her mind racing. She glanced over her shoulder and saw them hulking figures closing in fast. Suddenly, Reen stumbled. "Keep going!" He shouted, trying to stand, but a despotic soldier was on him in an instant, cutting him down without mercy. Jennifer gasped, her legs burning as she pushed herself to run faster. Avon and Eris tried to fight back, their energy weapons flickering to life, but the despotics overwhelmed them. Avon fell first, his body vanishing into digital particles. Eris let out a scream of rage before being taken down as well.
No.
Jennifer cried out, but there was no time to stop. Lyra was next. Her scream echoed through the alley as she was struck down. Jennifer's chest tightened. They were all dying, one by one. Nida grabbed Jennifer's arm, her face pale.
We have to keep moving.
But before they could take another step, Nida was hit, collapsing to the ground with a gasp. Jennifer froze, staring in horror at her fallen friend. Tears stung her eyes. She couldn't save them. The despotic soldier moved toward her, raising his weapon. This is it, Jennifer thought, bracing for the end. Suddenly, a blast of energy sent the soldier flying backward. Jennifer looked up to see Dan standing there, breathing hard, his weapon still glowing from the attack.
Jen, we've got to get out of here,
he shouted, rushing to her side. Jennifer, still in shock, let Dan pull her to her feet, and together they took off, sprinting through the alleyways. Her mind was a blur of grief and adrenaline. Her friends were dead, and the despotics were still on their trail.
Where's Click?
Dan asked, his voice tight as they rounded a corner.
I don't know. I couldn't find him, and then the despotics...
Jennifer replied breathlessly. Before she could finish, they skidded to a halt. More despotic soldiers blocked the path ahead, weapons drawn. Dan cursed under his breath.
We're surrounded.
Jennifer pulled out her own weapon, her hands shaking. They were trapped, nowhere to run. Just as the despotics moved to strike, a brilliant flash lit up the sky. Out of nowhere, a group of warriors descended, their armor gleaming in shimmering hues of gold, silver, and blue. Their movements were swift and precise as they fought off the despotics with ease. Jennifer and Dan stood frozen in awe as the battle raged around them. The warriors fought with a grace and power Jennifer had never seen before. In moments, the despotics were defeated, vanishing into digital dust. One of the warriors stepped forward, removing his helmet. He had sharp features, deep eyes that sparkled with intelligence, and an aura of authority.
I am king of this army. You've been targeted by the despotics. It is not safe for you here.
Dan narrowed his eyes, still gripping his weapon.
Why did you save us?
The king's expression softened.
Because I see potential in both of you. But now, I offer you a choice.
Jennifer and Dan exchanged a glance as the king continued.
You can return to safety, or you can stay and fight. The Infiniverse is in peril, and you may be able to help us stop the despotics. But the path will not be easy.
Jennifer's heart pounded. They had barely escaped with their lives, but something about the king's words stirred a sense of purpose inside her. She glanced at Dan, who gave her a determined nod.
We're staying,
Jennifer said, her voice steady. The king nodded approvingly.
Very well.
With a wave of his hand, a portal opened in front of them, swirling with energy. Jennifer and Dan looked at each other one last time before stepping through the portal together, ready to face whatever lay ahead.